Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society.
See me as the sun on the mountaintop. Feel me in the power of the seas. Hear me in the laughter of the stream. Power of nature, power of the trees. It is you who are broken. You are part of me. Some of you have awoken, but others might never be free. Oh, this is my song. This is my voice. These are my words. This is my truth. Hear me now. Take heed of my words. Love me now. Your spirit will fly. Hear me in the howling of the wolf. My voice is the song of the barn. I am the power that helps the salmon leap, and I am the very first breath of a child. It is you who are broken. You are part of me. Some of you have awoken, but others might never be free. Oh, this is my song. This is my voice. These are my words. This is my truth. Hear me now. Take heed of my words. Love me now, and your spirit will fly. Spirit will fly. I am the wild and I am the tame. I am the calm and I am the storm. I am the sound of your beating heart, and I am your blood and I am your bone. It is you who are broken. You are part of me. There is no separation. So dance, sing and be free. Oh, this is my song. This is my voice. These are my words. This is my truth. Hear me now. Take heed of my words. Love me now. This is my song. This is
Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to Three Witches and a Druid, where we sit around after having imbibed some lovely mead and discuss our modern lives living as pagans. I'm Margot.
And I am Maeve.
Gwen.
And I'm Brian. We also left out that we got a really good pizza.
Shout out to the Wedge for their moon pie. I kind of thought,
Amazing.
moon pie for a bunch of pagans sounded about appropriate.
It was
and
delicious.
This is not a sponsored ad.
But we
Pie
would
in the
accept
future.
sponsorship.
or, more pizza.
Yes.
Exactly.
And Lo is still with us because it's awkward to kick her out between episodes. So we decided we wanted to talk about red flags. But we also wanted to touch briefly on an article that was posted in The Atlantic. You want to talk a little bit about it, Gwen?
Oh, just briefly, The Atlantic published an article written by a rabbi, which has the flavor like it's trying to be academic, but it has a lot of errors regarding paganism. He mentions how monotheism is a better way and how pagan beliefs and virtues and values are the reason the world is, a big, to quote Brian, what is it? A big flaming pile of shit or something.
Yeah.
And so, although it's the Atlantic, so he didn't use those words exactly. But yeah, so, and there's been some pushback from pagan writers, lots of people writing up responses. I know Maeve has perused it and had some issues with some of the things he says. And I mean, it's theologically, I think it's weak. I think logically, like logic, it doesn't follow Socratic logic.
The
scholarship
scholarship was very shoddy and self-serving.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
So part of the issue is that, unfortunately, he uses the term pagan very incorrectly. Because at one point in the article, he calls Ellen the muskrat a pagan. Basically, anyone who is not of a Judeo-Christian
Yeah, and
faith.
he says monotheism, but he really only means Judeo-Christian because he doesn't refer to Islam at all.
No.
So
And he uses a couple of individuals as examples who are not pagan. In at all. So he uses the term ignorantly without understanding that there is an entire actual pagan community.
Yeah, he's using the term pagan to just mean
anybody that's not
who doesn't-
Judeo-Christian.
Judeo-Christian, which is ridiculous because many people wouldn't consider that. He was using very ancient, in much of it, very ancient Greco-Roman references and things that are like
But even-
2,000 years old. And it's like, why are you bringing that into the modern?
But even I think the way he
It's
used
weird.
them to support his argument, it didn't show a contextual, like he may have cherry-picked something out of there, but without the context of the rest of the culture,
No.
it didn't make any sense anyway,
And
to his argument. It didn't really help him any.
And he
Oh,
was-
that's the other
and-
name he mentions. Gross enough to even say it is Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Donald
well,
Trump.
It's
yeah.
an American article, I believe.
Yeah, so it's
Oh,
written
yeah.
by David Wolf, and it's called The Return of the Pagans, and it's posted in The Atlantic.
He's talking about, the love of money and the love of, got to be beautiful or handsome and all of this. And those are pagan attitudes. It's like, what? Who? I think he mentions maybe once actual earth spirituality.
Yeah,
And
what?
twice.
That's what.
Yeah.
So one of the bigger issues here, though, is that he's been invited to by a variety of actual pagan organizations
To learn more.
to learn more, and he's refused. Which
to
just
me-
shows his own ignorance.
To me, that shows his failing as a rabbi.
Yes.
My understanding is that rabbis are, as leaders of the community, always wanting to learn, always wanting to be exposed to new ideas, always wanting to understand the world so that they can better serve
Their community.
their community by understanding the greater world around them.
Exactly.
And that's something that this person has obviously refused and failed very, very
Right.
badly at doing.
It came up at the ADF Mother Grove meeting if we should respond to this, and we decided it wasn't worth it.
I don't think it's worth it, the energy to respond to the rabbi. Wolf.
David Wolf.
My issue is not so much with the article. People will make comments about other people's religions without a lot of knowledge. My issue is with the Atlantic. The Atlantic, it's not academic. It's not peer-reviewed. but it sells itself as being something that appeals to people who think.
Yeah.
It has a reputation of having value. It's not just content for the sake of content. It has, 150 odd years, maybe more of being there. It's a bit of a feather in your cap to be published in the Atlantic.
Yeah, not anymore.
Apparently not, because to me that is a failure on the part of the Atlantic to live up to their own corporate standards. Yeah.
The bottom line for me when I was reading it is, I will not give this a second thought because it's too ridiculous for words.
And
it does give cause for pause.
When people say, and here we'll get loads comment on this, like, you'll hear ridiculous people saying, do your own research. And so many of us can't do our own research. We don't have access. Things are behind paywalls that have value. It's hard for the layperson to do their own research. But you count on venerable institutions to do that screening for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the Atlantic dropped the ball.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I will preface, I didn't get a chance to read this article.
You're not missing anything.
It's a ridiculous article.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate that it sounds like, definitely. I mean, obviously, I know the Atlantic is quite a big news source to sort of hear that, an article, Donald Trump comes up in it?
Yeah.
Oh,
that guy, this has nothing to do with paganism.
He's in the opening paragraph because it's kind of like this whole worshipping the golden bull sort of concept. It's, because in ancient times, the Greco-Romans, it was all worship money and power and all of these things. And,
how many
and
pagans
whatnot.
do we know with any kind of money?
Yeah, money and power in our own minds, baby.
We had one guy who did really well in crypto.
He gained and lost millions over and over again.
I'm pretty sure it's all gone by now.
It just sounds like to me this guy just decided that pagan means anything he doesn't like.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. For me, the big issue boils back to the actual ignorance of him not actually wanting to learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, so we will never discuss this ever again or speak of it.
Yeah.
It's really, the article itself is too dumb for words.
And if you were thinking about buying the Atlantic, do not.
Yeah. Gwen sourced a bunch of very good replies. I'll post those in the show notes.
Yeah, smarter people than us.
Yeah, are you going to
from more
post the
thoughtful
article?
people than us.
I'll share the article.
Well, we'll get the article to you, Lo. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Great.
So the main
I can't wait to lose brain cells.
It's ridiculous beyond words. Seriously.
So the main topic of today's conversation is red flags, spiritual red flags. So this was a suggestion by Lo. We've done gatekeeping in the past, but we want to talk a little bit more about the red flags that you may encounter after you've passed through the gate. I thought that was a good way to put it.
There we go.
So what are some things, I'll let Lo start here, what are some things that you view are red flags in the spiritual community?
Anybody who says anything along the lines of this is the only way or the right way to do XYZ.
That's fair.
This is the only way to do divination. This is the only way to do a spell. This is the only way to do ritual. There are so many different ways and so many different ideas on how to practice. Paganism is so broad. Magic is so broad. There's no one right way to do anything.
Yeah.
No, there isn't. Even when I'm teaching, the Witchcraft 101 sort of deal, it's this is just the basis. This is one way. Expand on it how you like. Because I stop and think about how I did things 25 years ago and how I do them now. It's always growing and changing. And so if anybody says this is the only way or else you're not, it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's your middle fingers.
Right.
Or unless you've been initiated by a witch, you're not a witch. That's another
That's a big one. Now, there are certain paths and practices within paganism which do require initiation through certain
And that's
their
specific
path.
to their
and
path.
that's often explained right from the beginning. It's not like a big
It's not something that's going to be sprung on you in the middle of a ritual that,
Exactly.
by the way, guess what's going to happen now?
Yeah, and if that's part of their tradition, okay. But if you're in one tradition and you say, "Oh, well, you guys aren't real witches," I went through that in the beginning. You're not original group a lot was, well, there was one or two people there who believed, well, if you are not part of this particular line and you haven't been initiated in another tradition we recognize, well, you're not really a witch.
Right.
That's much crap.
One thing that is coming up a lot online, I've recently become a moderator of a very large Celtic and Druidry group, and one of the issues in that group, and this happens all the time, a lot of people want to talk about their ancestry DNA, and that's perfectly okay. But then you run into it kind of borders on the gatekeeping. But when you find individuals like that who push that folkish bullshit, that comes up a lot. So another issue along those lines, and this, the other moderator's going to hate me for this if she listens. I don't think she does. It drives me a little nuts when you have a lot of individuals from, say, Ireland or Scotland or that area who say, no, this is a closed practice. Only we can practice this. It's like, so there was this place called Pangea, and all of this, Nova Scotia, the Appalachians.
We were attached to Africa.
We were all one. Nothing is closed in that sense.
I would say there are closed practices.
Oh, no, there definitely is.
Like, I wouldn't go practice indigenous spirituality, being an indigenous person and all that.
There's no way in the world you could tell me that Celtic is a closed practice.
Yeah.
And it does not belong to Ireland and Scotland.
It doesn't belong to a DNA group. It's a cultural thing, and it was historically.
Yeah, and it was
various
massive.
tribal
It reached all the way from Scandinavia to the Arab Peninsula. You can't come on to a Facebook group in 2023 and tell me, no, I decided this is going to be closed practice. It doesn't work that way.
No. As I have said many times before, practice what you want, whatever culture you want, whatever floats your boat. But you see, I've been challenged once or twice about, I'm very Northwestern European in my DNA. According to 23andMe, I'm Germanic, British with a little Frenchy whatever thrown in there. But my argument is, as somebody, and I'd say much of the pagan population believes in reincarnation, who's to say you were not somebody else in another life and that is still in you?
Yeah.
That isn't still in your soul or your makeup or an ancestor that may have been, ancestral memory, things like that, or even reincarnation. Since I was a child old enough to notice what was in a book, I was always fascinated with Egyptian, ancient Egypt, things like that. And I have absolutely no DNA in me, but it's obviously a past life thing.
Yeah.
That's how I say, because I personally, just for me, I do believe in past lives, and who knows who someone was in another life.
Can I disagree with that slightly?
You can disagree all you want.
I'm not sure my opinions on past lives or that topic. I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds like a possibility. Sure, I don't know what I believe in regards to that. But say past lives are a thing. If someone was Egyptian in a past life, or African descent in a past life, and they are now, I'm just going to say white because I'm a white person. If I was to say, like, I can practice XYZ closed practice because I was whatever in a past life, I think you still have to take into account that you're in this life. And in this life, your ancestry is what it is. And you still need to take into consideration the history and the oppression that many people have faced for practicing their religion, their spirituality, and the context therein. In this life, you are not part of whatever culture it may be. If that is a closed practice, I don't personally think you should insert yourself into that, regardless of your beliefs, if you may have been part of that culture in a past life.
So we've had this conversation before about appropriation, and one of the things that comes up a lot is that there is appropriation in the form of, I'm going to make dream catchers and open up a store and sell dream catchers as a non-Indigenous person, versus appropriation of appreciating someone's spirituality. One is significantly more damaging than the other. Also, at the same time, in a lot of those closed practices, not all of them, some closed practices are very closed. Some closed practices, they're more than happy to teach you if you find the right individual who's willing to share their knowledge with you as long as you gain that knowledge from an individual that follows that path
Mhm.
and is of that culture today. We here in Nova Scotia have been really lucky for a very long time. The Mi'kmaq were willing to share a lot of their teachings.
Our
with-
First Nations people are, I think right across Canada, are very
Oh, yeah.
generous.
I only say Mi'kmaq here because I don't have experience with the others.
Yeah.
But the Druids for years used to go to a sweat. We were invited yearly to go to a sweat lodge.
Yeah.
And it was great. The unfortunate thing is that at the time, I don't know if this has changed, at the time, the sweat lodge was only for men. And the grove is vast majority female now, so we stopped going.
Now, I will say I do not follow an Egyptian pantheon. Like, I'm not Kemetic. But for myself, if I'm wanting to, look into or study or meditate on the concept of Isis, well, I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And it's a very complicated and complex topic.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm not coming across as like
No, not at all. I know
any,
exactly
like-
what you mean
How
here.
dare you
I
disagree
know.
with her on an
I
opinion?
know.
No, you can
Actually,
disagree
I'm
all
gonna slide
you
her
want.
a 20 because and I go, oh, okay, we'll just keep our mouths shut.
No,
I
it's
will keep my
fine.
mouth shut.
No, not in the slightest. I really am just, if you are from Mali and you want to learn about or study about or meditate with Rhiannon, I don't care.
Mhm.
See, that's me. Like, I truly don't. And I do, and I've said it before, that I do homestay for a English language college downtown in Halifax. I've lived with just about 50 people from 14 different countries. And I can tell you honestly, I've lived, like I said, 14 different countries. They don't give a shit.
They don't.
They
And that's-
really don't. I have kimonos from Japan. I have dresses from Africa, and they're happy for me to
And
be
they
doing
would
all
love
this.
for you to wear them, but
Society
the
tells you not to
society
wear them.
Yeah, it's
here
ridiculous.
is uncomfortable.
Because the
to
people
do that.
from
That's
those
the other thing.
countries are so happy to share. Well, you want to wear our clothes, you want to do this, you want to put this on your head or do whatever you want. They don't care. It's a very interesting North American, meaning United States, Canada concept that we're appropriating when I have never had that experience. We are butting in.
That's
in
one of the
any
biggest
way.
issues in appropriation is often the conversation of cultural appropriation is that we often don't listen to the cultures that we're talking about. So, like,
That's
a
just
big-
my
a
experience.
big
though.
example is, guess what Mexicans' favorite cartoon is? Speedy Gonzales. When they got taken off the air, they were super mad because that represented them, and they loved that. And everyone was like, but the uncle who's lazy is like, yeah,
Mhm.
we're lazy sometimes, just like you are lazy sometimes.
I had one girl, Fanta, from Mali, and she was talking to me. She wanted me to do would you like to do Ramadan with me? And I mean, it's obviously not my religion. She says, oh, you might like a nice experience, you might get something out of it. She was happy for me to do Ramadan. If I said now, went out in a general crowd and said, I'm going to do Ramadan this year, people would be, you can't do that. It's not your religion, blah, blah, blah. It's like the girl from Mali was inviting me to do it with her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
We have an entire event in February called Interfaith.
Interfaith Harmony
And
Week,
we
yeah.
participated in that, the Grove, several times, where various religions come together and share their spiritual paths and beliefs. It is great. It's an amazing event.
Yeah, because ignorance breeds prejudice.
Yeah. But we're kind of getting a little off topic.
Okay.
It's that is a complicated topic.
Yeah.
It is a complicated
Nobody's
topic.
saying cultural appropriation is an incredibly difficult topic. It is very sensitive for a lot of individuals.
Yes.
But the most important thing is to listen to the individuals
Yes.
who actually represent the culture.
Yeah.
Do not allow the middle-aged white woman on the internet to tell you what you are
Absolutely.
and are not
I
appropriating.
would never set up and make kimonos and sell them in a store.
Well,
But
that's the thing
but I have a
But
kimono
hold
from
up.
Japan
hold up.
as a gift.
Where do you think the kimono comes from?
The kimono's Korean.
Exactly. But most people think it's Japanese. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're appropriating from the Japanese. Japanese be the first people to tell you, like, no, we went over, literally beat them up and stole We thought they were really cool, and we literally appropriated them to the max.
Yeah, they're Korean.
A Japanese person would be the first person to tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, so what were we talking about?
We're talking about red flags.
Spiritual red flags.
Yeah.
Spiritual red flags. Anybody who tells you, oh, here's the biggie. You have to have sex with
Oh,
you
no.
have to
Oh,
this.
no.
Or another one is we
Do you
only.
think that's still a thing?
Yes,
It
I
is.
do.
I think it
Oh,
is.
really? Because I was going to say,
Not
I
around
think
here, obviously,
Most
'cause no one's having sex
generation
with
is
me.
way too savvy for this.
Yeah.
They're way too. It's so much
You
more out in the open.
Be surprised.
I can see the 80s and 90s, but I would.
You'll find certain corners like the Midwest
Possibly.
or like the Bible Belt where everything is like much more secretive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can also see how, as being a former, well, still damaged, but a former very damaged adolescent, early adult, seeking connection, seeking belonging, seeking approval,
Yes.
seeking love, being manipulated into that.
Being vulnerable to that
Being
situation.
vulnerable for
Yes.
that kind of
Because
situation.
there's predators
And I
everywhere.
believe that the damaged young woman that I was still exists out there in our population.
Yes.
And many
Fair.
young women.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see how that kind of makes them a target for that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Now,
Yeah.
at the same time, and this is not me playing devil's advocate, in no way are we sex shaming. You want to go?
Oh,
Oh, go.
God,
Fuck
no.
it,
Yeah.
Go
No.
for it. I know
Sex
of a
magic is awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
I know of a local coven that sex is a big part of what they do.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Good for them. They do their thing. I'll tell you that story off podcast. I don't think it's appropriate to share.
Oh no, absolutely.
That's what they enjoy, and it's all consensual, and it's done. If between two consenting adults, do what you want, but do not feel. Yeah,
or,
you're right.
Or more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or more.
Yeah.
But it's a matter
More than
of,
two.
or
Yes.
you're not going to have the initiation passed properly on to you unless you are joined with me and I can pass it through bodily
Exactly.
fluids
Yeah,
and all that.
no.
That's a
That-
pile of
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Or
That
you
was at the
have to
bodily
be,
fluid.
you can only come to our coven if you're willing to work skyclad. Well, if you can't raise enough, because you know it's the energy, you can't raise enough energy to get through a little piece of cotton, then there's no use, there's no hope for you anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's just ridiculous. Another biggie, well, I guess it's part of gatekeeping too, is, oh, don't read those books. That's always been a biggie for me. Don't read about other, like, oh, we're this particular, strain of paganism.
Yeah.
Don't read about this group and this group and this group, because that's all bullshit. Don't read it.
You should read
You know what I
everything.
mean? You read everything. You know what I mean? I'm an eclectic traditionalist. I enjoy my rituals in a traditional style, but I'm eclectic to many
So I
different gods
disagree.
and goddesses.
Never read 21 Lessons of Merlin.
no.
Yeah,
yes.
fair.
That's
Yes.
one book you should never read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Burn it. Burn
I
every
mean,
copy you see.
You read
The only book I ever
read
destroyed.
books, but read them with like a critical eye.
Yeah, yeah.
And use your discretion
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
don't take everything at face value because
Yeah.
there is some BS out there.
Oh, yeah, there is. Especially right now because
AI.
the AI and the publishing, like pagan publishing right now, I don't know today if it's as hot as it was like 5 years ago.
Mm.
There was tons of books coming out, like left, right, and center.
Yeah, like Amazon has so many like
Yeah.
witchcraft books, and it's all like authors with like this like 5 last names that sound witchy or whatever.
Yeah, and they're not
Well,
good.
just pop up.
And as I was reading maybe Jason Mankey or a few actual published authors and some academics talking about this, and they're made up. Like,
Yeah.
these are AI generated books with made up people. So if
Oh,
you see
really?
something
Yeah.
that
I
you
didn't
like,
know that.
Actually,
You-
there was recently, this came up a big time because somebody came out with an AI generated mushroom book. And they got the mushrooms
Yeah.
mixed up. And they were suggesting
no.
you eat a very poisonous mushroom.
yes,
in
I
this
just
book that was
read
being
about that
sold.
too.
God.
But there are a lot of generated books that are generated, so they're
I
wholesale
had
plagiarism,
no
right?
idea.
Because they're just grabbing stuff off
Yeah.
of other online books and blogs and everything. And
Chat GPT, just
ChatGPT.
mush it all together.
I am
publish.
such a Luddite. I had no idea that was
and
going
so
on.
people
Holy shit.
they suggest look these authors up. If you can't
Mhm.
find anything but 1 page or 2 pages on them, if they don't look like they have a whole
Yeah.
background,
Yeah.
possibly it's a ChatGPT.
Look up the author, look up reviews, look up negative and positive reviews,
Yeah.
and see does this author have any backlash against them for any reason? Have they been called out for things that are red flaggy, for example?
There was quite a few years back, and Margot may remember this. There was a couple of books that all of a sudden got super popular. Oh my God, I forget what one of them was. And people were coming in Little Mysteries asking for it. And Vanessa was like, we don't sell that. And there was some of us, if we saw them somewhere on secondhand tables, we bought them so people wouldn't get their hands on them.
Because they were so I can't remember.
They were terrible.
We've talked about that book though,
yes.
on the podcast.
There's a couple, but there's one, and I still kept it. I have it at home. There's one book I have that talks about how you need to steal nails from a coffin, and it talks about how to go dig up a coffin in a cemetery and how you need to be careful. I'm like, is this happening? Or put your menstrual blood in their wine and they will be tied to you forever. Oh, listen, I've got a bunch of them at home that
you can see them. I was going to say, that's probably a TikTok thing. They're doing stuff with body fluids and
I have the actual books at home. I can bring them along and show you sometimes the ones you never want to look at.
That's really old folk magic. That's really old folk magic. So it comes back around every so often, yeah.
I forget the one that Little Mysteries, Vanessa was just beside herself. We've had a run on this book. It's an awful book. Blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. Crazy business.
I was thinking, since we're talking bodily fluids, one of the things you brought up was medical advice, spiritual healing.
Yes.
Yes.
I said earlier, like, one big red flag is anybody telling you that you should forego medical treatment or not bother going to the doctor to treat something and just do the spiritual, herbalistic, whatever method to treat it instead. And I will add to that saying that spiritual healing, very impactful, meditation, great stuff. Like, I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying don't do that instead of going to the doctor. Go to your doctor, talk to your doctor, and tell your doctor if you're taking supplements or any tea, anything that you're doing, let them know. Because maybe you're on a medication or they will prescribe you a medication to also help with whatever issue you're facing that would negatively interact with whatever other treatment you're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe there's nothing, but maybe there is something.
And the herbs that we sold at Little Mysteries, and we sold buckets of them, we always made it very clear that we were not certified herbalists. Mm-hmm. We were not recommending anybody take these internally. They were food grade, but they were for magical purposes and not for
spells.
Ingesting, not for
consumption.
Yeah. I mean, you can make chamomile tea, but as long as you do your research and you take your responsibility for what you're doing with these herbs. But again, I agree with you 100%. You need to tell your medical professionals if you're taking any herbal supplements or herbal treatment, because they do, as you said, have active ingredients that are going to possibly interact.
Yeah, exactly.
So
beware of people trying to sell you things. I think we keep coming back around to that, whether it's spiritual healing, whether it's I'm the only way or this is the true path or whatever. Usually it comes down to money.
Psychics are not going to message you privately on Instagram and offer you to read the card. That is not a thing. It's a scam. Stop falling for it.
Yeah, that's such a thing. I know you said, Gwen, you mentioned TikTok briefly there, but that's such a thing on TikTok, and people will just find you and be like, "Hey, your energy was calling out to me. I think you should pay for this $20 reading." And it's like, no, don't do that.
My energy says no.
No, it's true. I think though, and sadly, and it ties back to people who may feel isolated or insecure. And a little earlier off the podcast here, we were talking about how having many different active pagan community groups and different events and all of this, and the more the merrier. I think sometimes when people do feel very alone and very isolated, very solitary, maybe they live somewhere where it's dangerous to live your spirituality outside, and all of that. I think that they can be, and pardon me, because not all teenagers are stupid, but, or anything like that. But a lot of times, or they don't want to tell their parents, or just people who feel isolated would be drawn to any kind of sort of spiritual connection. So it is, try your very best to find others if you can.
Yeah.
Because I can see how some people would get sucked in by that. Or a lot of times people too, who are not pagan in any way, who just think it might be a lark. Oh, let's try this for fun. So be careful about that.
Yes.
And ask questions. Ask all the questions. Big red flag is if you're not allowed to ask questions. That's when you turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
Because it should be a safe enough place that you feel safe enough to ask for the information that you require to make your decisions. And if you're not allowed to have that information to make your decisions, then that is not a safe place to be.
And it could be for a nefarious purpose, but it could also be that they are not confident enough in themselves to say, you know what, I can't give you an answer right now, or I don't know right now. And if somebody is going to say you're not allowed to know rather than admit they don't know, you need to get with people that are more confident, that can own their deficiencies, because that can get dangerous all on its own.
Yeah. There's
when people are led by their ego.
Yeah, or I'll often say, I don't have the answer, but maybe I can help you find someone who does.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a biggie. Or a biggie for me, red flags, is anyone who tells you shouldn't read a book. I'm back to that. Yeah. That's a biggie. Now, I will say that I have said to people in the past, you can read that book all you want. You may not have enough prior information to get as much out of it as you could, but you go straight ahead and read that. I would never tell them not to. I might say, you might want to read this one first, and this will make more sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's hard to do your multiplication until you know your addition. But you go ahead and read it. You want to read that book, you'd be my guest.
And another one, jumping off the asking questions, also being able to disagree with whatever the people in whatever group or community you're in. You should be able to disagree.
We're not friends anymore,
without fighting. It's just such a toxic environment. I'm gonna be ostracized from the pagan community in Nova Scotia now because I disagreed with it. So
but that's all right.
That's it for me. Bye, guys. You will never hear from me again. I went against the powers that be, so.
No, that is perfectly cool with me. You know what? When
Did she just say she thinks we're the powers that
No, that was sarcasm. That's hilarious.
No, this Rove has been together for almost 23 years now, and I can't think of a single time where me and Mark have agreed on something. It's pretty rare.
And and it is all part of critical thinking, because anything anybody says, I often give it a thought and maybe see something else. And that's pretty cool. And I also, are like, well, you don't believe quite the same as me, and that's perfectly cool.
Yeah.
That's part of the whole deal. You're coming from a different angle. And I think I'm just getting old, man. It's like, I don't know if I got the energy. I'm happy with this and my thoughts on the whole, and whatever. I'm always open to new things. Of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. Well, this has been exciting. I had a lovely time, and I'm so happy Lo is with us for another episode. It's very, very exciting.
Thank you so much.
There we are. Are you coming back again if we ask?
Oh, if you'll have me, I'll come back for sure.
No, it's great. Well, look, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in with us. We're always very excited to be sharing together and sharing with you. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach us on our Facebook page. We're always open to, suggestions for shows and ideas and all of that. So anytime. And if you have criticisms, constructively and politely, please. That's great.
Hello, beloved listeners and patrons of Three Witches and a Druid podcast. We would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support of our podcast. With your encouragement, we have been able to explore and celebrate the rich and diverse world of paganism and spirituality. We feel blessed to have had the opportunity to share our knowledge and experiences with you. As we continue to grow and evolve, we invite you to join us on this journey and become a Patreon member of our podcast. Your contribution will help us to continue creating quality content and provide you with more exciting episodes filled with wisdom, insights, and a little enchantment. By becoming a Patreon member, you will not only support our mission, but you will also have access to exclusive content, behind the scenes goodies, discounts, and much, much more. Together, we can create a thriving and supportive community. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of our 3 Witches and a Druid family.
And until next time, everybody, merry meet,
Merry part,
and merry meet again.
blessed be.
This has been 3 Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.